Welcome one and all to this episode of How We Would Write It, where we look at films and other works and discuss how they could be rewritten differently and hopefully better. Today we have met the masochistic pleasure of going over the Hotel Transylvania trilogy. Also, shout out to my friend Average Florida Boy for suffering through the trilogy with me.
Howdy y'all, thanks for having me on. We're talking about the Transylvania trilogy as my friend here just previously said. And yes, we said trilogy because we absolutely refused to cover the fourth film on the basis of moral grounds and psychological well-being.
Hey, at least there's not a fifth one. Well, this took several days of review, editing, scripting, and suffering, so please hit like and subscribe. We suffer for your content, and without further ado, Florida! Play the movie before I get the whip out again!
Fine. I don't even get workers' comp for this. Here we are, the shining jewel of the franchise. This is the best it's gonna get, huh?
It's not all terrible. However, the world building and the modernization of some core characters is actually handled well. Though it's not enough to keep the movie from, in our opinion, needing some tweaking.
By far and large, the strongest part of the first film is its main characters that we follow. Johnny, for example, was written a bit on the millennial side. The movie really does show its age with him more than anybody else. Regardless, he honestly feels likable and genuine, something that most animated films tend to avoid, rather wanting an insincere character for comedic effect. Dracula is an example of how to balance comedy and mysterious tragedy into one character with no flanderization, ever. His character feels like a mirror of something you'd see in your everyday, a single dad trying to hide his emotional loneliness behind caring for his daughter, and being eccentric. It isn't perfect, however, and I'll let the big man himself explain it.
I want to start by stating what I disliked about the first movie. Normally, when you deconstruct something you despise, you have to say what you like, but that implies I had any issue at all with the first movie, which for the most part I did not. So let's start with some small grievances. First things first, some time descriptions are confusing, especially when cross-referenced to later films. And that's the only grievance in my notes. Well then, let's move on. Hotel Transylvania opens and introduces Mavis and Dracula living together as a single father and daughter, with Dracula refusing to let Mavis out into the world, which is a trope done to death by now, but in the ancient era of 2012 AD, it was new. I think it highlights their relationship well as keeping the characters extremely consistent. Dracula has a bit of a silly streak, but is serious most of the time. This is kept consistent for the first movie. Mavis is socially unaware, but trying to be better, and meeting Johnny helps her. That remains consistent until she develops in later films. Speaking of Johnny, he's the only character that gets to stay true to his original character from the original story. He really is the GOAT.
Just how low is the bar we're setting for what was done right?
The bar is in hell, Florida. 2 and 3 are god-awful.
Are we sure there's anything we want to change?
Again, all I'd change is better dating. Maybe add a couple background calendars specifying the year. The only time you get a year-ish for the first movie is Johnny's statement of, it's the 21st century. Either that, or we do some lame thing and assume it takes place in 2012, because that's when the movie was released. The movie does an alright job at the location. It is, in fact, in Transylvania, Romania. It may seem obvious, because it's what's named after, but when I watched the movie, I always assumed it was named after the city, and not taking place in it, because the city at the end of the movie felt very Anytown, USA, if you ignore the architecture. But Johnny mentions being able to see Budapest, the capital of Hungary, a country on Romania's northwest border. Alright, we've gone through the good, now into the bad. If I had a time machine, I wouldn't stop World War II, I wouldn't stop any sort of tragedy, save for one. I would personally go to SONY headquarters and prevent anything from after Hotel Transylvania 1 from ever happening. Unless it gave me full creative control. Story starts simply enough. Mavis and Johnny are married, and Mavis is with a child. Great beginning, minus several time skips and plenty of pop.
We are cutting the white girl pop, right?
Right, exactly. It makes the film painfully dated. A major plot point is Dennis, the child, who is very human, which is important as he is of the Dracula line, and if Dennis isn't a monster, Mavis is willing to uproot her life and move to California?
California.
A vampire, in a state known for being sunny and hot? She wouldn't move to Alaska or something?
I mean, it's where Johnny grew up.
Good a reason as any, I guess. Alright folks, here's where we start to go downhill with the characters. You can definitely feel the creative shift in what the studio was going for. Specifically with Dracula. He's much more goofy, and parts of him being irresponsible are ridiculously emphasized. Wait, what's that noise? Why is it getting louder? No, not this. Florida, turn the film off, hurry!
I'm trying, the reel is stuck in there, I can't get it out!
I'm afraid to say anything. Hey, good man,
Is it over?
Yeah, must have been some sort of miracle. Well, in the time for miracles, we have to make the character discussion. Dracula will remain the same. He will keep his development, and he will not become a joke. We could have had a good trilogy, but no, he's a fucking dude man.
Hey, good man. I'm a good man.
If we want to get technical, that has roots in the first movie.
Oh, come on now, dude man. Hey. Oh, come on now, dude man.
Doesn't make it okay.
I agree entirely. What do you think, Editor Me? Is Dude Man meme still relevant? No? Even as I'm recording this, the meme is dead? Okay.
A massive plot point of the second movie is Dennis, the son of Mavis and Johnny. Dennis could have been handled much better, unfortunately. He's sort of a blank slate as a character goes, which is normal for children, but it feels like he never really gets a chance to be a character. He's wheeled around by other characters and whatever the plot needs him for. We don't get to see him get a chance for his own growth when it isn't to help another character's growth. Some scenes do have some charm to them, such as the scene where Dracula sings to both Dennis and Mavis. It's a sweet scene that really does feel in character for all three there. Especially Dracula. You can see that strong father-daughter connection from Hotel Transylvania 1, but with a grandson as well now. It's honestly the best scene in the movie for just how genuine it is.
The second movie treats him alright, but as Florida mentioned earlier, he is what the plot demands he is. A plot device that exists to create the conflict that leads to the second movie. But the third movie treats him horribly, destroying what little character he had. In our rewrite, Dennis will definitely be more independent of a character. Also, we're gonna scrap the whole human or monster thing with Dennis. He was born a vampire. One thing this changes is Vlad. Presumably, the Dracula. But he's very poorly shoehorned in at the end, because without his conflict and resolution with the gargoyles, the movie has a sad conclusion of Mavis leaving with her child and Johnny. Vlad will be written way better in our rendition.
Another well-handled pair of characters are Johnny's parents. Let's talk about his mom for a second. She's constantly using microaggressions towards Mavis and Dracula, and throwing around the word normal.
Shouldn't he have fangs and that pasty skin you guys have? I think Dennis just wants to be normal.
Can we stop using the word normal?
And so many words. She has internalized racism.
Johnny's dad serves as the straight man archetyped voice of reason, which I think was done well. My only real issue is how these two parents created Johnny. He's so completely different from them in almost every way. Dare I say, better in every way. Environmental storytelling is really cool when done right, especially in films like these that include blink and you'll miss it background objects. For example, this image of Johnny and Mavis on their wedding day. Notice how Mavis isn't in the photo. That's because vampires don't show up in pictures.
Wasn't that mirrors?
Maybe? I feel like I remember being told somewhere it applied to photos too. Oh well, not that it matters anyway, it won't come up again.
The film also introduces a human-monster couple that is not Johnny and Mavis. This is a really good concept that can be written to be anything, but the movie treats it like a gag.
In our rewrite, these two will 100% have plot relevance. Maybe he'll even get a better looking monster partner, who knows. I know I'm not supposed to judge, but dear God, she is horrid. Why did he ever settle for that? The next half of the movie is between Dracula trying to vampirify Dennis, which includes a good scene where Dracula briefly mentions Martha. On the B-plot side, Mavis is going around California late at night enjoying all kinds of human things like slushies and staring into CCTV. Wait a goddamn second! She didn't show up in her wedding photos! How the hell does she show up in the CCTV? I know the photo was never brought up, but are you kidding? This is probably the thing that pissed me off the most. Okay, time for the plot summary of the better version. We'll open the movie similarly to the way they opened it, with Mavis telling Dracula she's pregnant and that he'll be a grandfather, which is an okay way to start, and I enjoy the scene a lot. But everything afterward is where things will change. Dennis will be born a vampire and will be difficult for the two newlyweds to be parents. Maybe there are some fictional problems on top of the very real parenting ones. Eventually a birthday party comes up and Mavis tells Johnny memories she's had with Vlad, and they both agree to invite him, hoping things will go well. Dracula is informed of this and is mortified. Immediately, he gives Johnny a vampire costume, essentially how he was dressed at the end of the second movie, knowing that his learning of Johnny's humanity would be fatal. Vlad shows up, and things go alright until they begin eating at a dinner table, and Johnny is offered the blood substitute that Dracula drinks, which he initially refuses. He then attempts to take a bite of an apple, and the plastic vampire teeth break. Then Vlad realizes that Johnny is human and crashes out at everyone involved. Maybe even calls Johnny some anti-human slur that nobody but the vampires understand. I can imagine the dialogue going something like this. You let your daughter marry a good-for-nothing, uncultured American short fang? Hey, take it easy. Johnny's one of the good ones. Dad? What? I'm right. I don't want to do this anymore. What the fuck is this? Mavis and Dracula insist that Johnny is an amazing guy and leave the two to bond, and Johnny, being the best guy around, manages to get Vlad to like him and confides in him about the difficulties of raising a vampiric child, in which Vlad begins giving tips and becomes a mentor figure for Johnny's parenting of Dennis, and things began to improve for the family. One thing they mention briefly, but never again, is Johnny becoming head of HR, or human relations, which could be a position where he argues for the hotel's safety, maybe even lets an OSHA man stick his nose in the place, fix it up, which Dracula initially dislikes until he notices a flood of people and monsters alike to the hotel, which makes him happier, and the movie can end off there.
You know how they say last but not least? Yeah, no. This is absolutely the worst movie in the trilogy by far. We genuinely had a hard time figuring out how to salvage damn near anything from this movie. Though we do have a couple ideas. Hotel Transylvania 3. It follows the trend of introducing characters with high potential and underutilizing them. It has us see Van Helsing.
Wait, is that a phlogistinator? Pull up a photo of the flog, quickly. Apologies for the distraction. We also become introduced to his granddaughter, but she's besides the point. If you've read or seen anything that has to do with Dracula, then you're expecting this to happen eventually. He's an integral part to the original mythos of Dracula. Unfortunately, the film uses him as comic relief, only showing him to lose again and again as Dracula aura-farms. Later, as the film progresses, we see more of Van Helsing's granddaughter. Her presence is undeniably the single most unbearably bad written part of the entire trilogy. Dracula is constantly being pushed to fall in love with her again, or zing again. It was made clear in episode 1 that you can only ever zing once, and it's even restated several times in this movie! I understand the message of the movie, which is that it's okay to move on and learn to love again, but the way it's done just spits in the face of the original. And Dracula's wife, I believe the way this should have been handled is a bit different. Erica is used as a plot device to put Dracula in a romance once again. Not to mention, Martha was a 9.5 on a bad day, and Erica is a 6 on a good day. She looks like a diet Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah, his standards seriously fell off.
This movie opens with a black screen that reads Transylvania 1897. 1897? I'm sorry, if the hotel is established in 1895, then that means that Martha was killed somewhere around early 1890 because, well, massive hotels surrounded by natural barriers take a while to build, but Dracula implies that monsters getting married or getting a vacation is a dream, which implies that he's not yet married and not yet tied down to his responsibilities as Mavis' perfect father, so what the hell is happening with the timeline?
Dude, you're giving the writers way too much credit for how much they don't care about the continuity.
Yeah, you're completely right. Okay, back to the summary. As I said earlier, Van Helsing is effortlessly aura-farmed on by Dracula like a competent pyromane facing a spy newbie, and eventually ends their rivalry by throwing him off a cliff and declaring, "Boy, wouldn't it be really cool if there was a movie made about this, and said movie gave no shits about me or my character and just treated me like a joke the whole time? It would be, but alas," or something stupid like that. Then we cut back to modern day, where a bunch of unimportant filler happens, which comes to a head when Dennis comes riding in on a dog that nobody but the plot asked for. Dracula's friend group then attempts to shove him into a relationship with Frankenstein's right-armed cousin. Good callback. Which fails. Then, the movie tries to put us on a solid timeline with Invisible Man saying that Dracula has not been on a date in 100 years. Which, I'm not even going to try to make sense of, even if that's a reasonable time frame. After some failed attempt for Dracula to find love again on a dating app, Mavis finds a very unassuming ad about a monster vacation. She then immediately books it for her family. Dracula is tweaking on the plane because, well, it's falling apart. Disgustingly missed opportunity to take a shot at Spirit Airlines, but I digress. They make it, and here comes Diet Ellen to make her entrance, and Dracula falls head over heels. Hijinks ensue. She tries to kill him once, twice, 3 times, once with a flare gun. So this entire Van Helsing line are pyromane, good to know. Later they get a Doomsday device which is revealed to be sheet music, some trap music. Then our Lord, our Savior, Johnny Christ, saves the day and the story ends. And Dracula, sorry, this is physically painful, gets engaged to Erica. That's that. Time to talk about rewriting this garbage.
Dracula is, as clearly shown in Part 1 and 2, heavily attached to Mavis to make up for his own loneliness now that Martha is gone. It's like a hidden depression of sorts. To fit this better, we believe that the best path for Dracula as a character is not to find a replacement, but to move on from love for good and learn how to live without a relationship. This keeps the rule of only singing once still true and respects the direction of the original film. How we want to go about this is to have Dracula slowly become closer to Erica through her lies and manipulation. Though, as the story progresses, he realizes that Erica was fake and out to hurt him. This makes Dracula give up on love and slowly start to figure out how to be okay by himself. He will grieve, but it does not last forever. A bit later into the film, we could see some scenes of him breaking out of his comfort zone, doing things he enjoys, trying to live for once. And at the end, a scene of him speaking to the portrait of him and Martha, speaking on how he moved on from the morning, but not from his memory of her. This way, the original film and its rules are respected, and it gives a warm sense of closure to the trilogy. Well, folks, that probably could have been smoother and more coherent, but we sincerely hope you liked it.
This series had some good highs, mostly focused in Hotel Transylvania 1, but the lows just made it hard for us to watch and not try to rewrite some of it. These movies had some great potential, and it's a shame that Sony didn't utilize it fully after Hotel Transylvania 1. This was a fun thing to do, but this Pyro character was a hassle. Do you know how hard it is to pose ragdolls in Gmod? Not to mention how long it took for me to constantly readjust and chroma key an image. Then I learned that I only had to do it once for each pose, and I could just copy it and paste. But I learned it the hard way. It feels like I blinked and I lost months due to slacking off and schoolwork, and suddenly it was December. And this was meant to be a Halloween video. Merry late Christmas, I guess. Maybe I'll make a video on the production of this one if the channel is a whole as well. For extra incentive, if this video does well, we'll suffer through Hotel Transylvania 4.
No. Hell no. I refuse. You can forget about the partnership at this rate. I quit if I have to watch Hotel Transylvania 4 destroy Johnny. I am sick of this. I'm tired of the pay. I'm tired of the conditions. You always whip me. I'm calling my lawyer. This is human rights abuse. Why do I work with you? I am done with this establishment.
He's not quitting. Nobody else will pay 30 rupees an hour. That's like 34 cents American. Anyway, as always, be well, keep writing, and goodbye.
Let's go! One, two.